Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. You can get us live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, internal race for the presidential slot of the National Democratic Congress is heating up, with former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo coming under intense criticism for using his Ahunto project to tout himself even before the battle line is drawn. The man of the moment a while ago had this to say.
Insults, attacks will stop me from what I want to do for you. Nothing.
We'll talk about the presidential race of the NDC shortly, and Ghana's two top universities, KNUST and the University of Ghana, found to be running nearly 700 unaccredited programs in the diploma, undergraduate and postgraduate, as well as PhD levels. There are certificates at risk this afternoon. We'll talk about it, plus the findings of the Auditor General's report. We'll bring you details shortly. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo is giving stern assurances that the country is determined not to compromise the integrity and quality of tertiary education.
I will thus urge the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to be even more vigilant in applying the new rules in order not to compromise the internationally acknowledged reputation of integrity and quality of Ghana's higher education.
Also this afternoon, a lot is happening in Parliament as the local government minister Dan Bocho is challenging Government Assurances Committee's position that only substantive ministers can appear before the committee, stating promises made by sector ministers on the floor of the House are not personal.
Those given on the floor of Parliament are personal. They may be given in person, that's my understanding, but certainly I do not believe they are personal, because they are officially given. These answers are sought from official sources.
Stay with us as we bring you details of all of these stories here on The Pulse with me, Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, affordable, safe sanitation. This afternoon as well, we're streaming live on YouTube, and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Thanks for choosing us. Please stay. Well, this afternoon, it's emerging that almost 700 programs run by two of Ghana's leading universities are without accreditation, casting doubt on the worthiness of such certificates. Now, out of 360 programs run by the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, only 61 are accredited, whilst that of the University of Ghana, as we understand, has 374 of its programs unaccredited. This is contained in the Auditor General's 2021 report on states, boards and organizations. We have, of course, some reactions to the development as President Akufo-Addo has been speaking about the quality of tertiary education. But first, let's break down, of course, some of the findings of the Auditor General to you in terms of what it is that he's been saying about the university. So some of the demands are on your screens right now, giving you a picture of what's happening at KNUST, the University of Ghana. And, of course, there are some minor infractions that are also occurring in some of the state-owned institutions as well. For now, we're focusing on the education sector, talking about accreditation, because some of the certificates are at risk. Of course, they could be declared null and void by the National Accreditation Board. So exactly what are some of the findings of the Auditor General? Let's put that to you right away, except on your screens right now. On the case of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, of course, the Auditor General is pointing out that we noted that out of 360 programs run by the university, only 61 have been accredited and 190 of them sent to the National Accreditations Board for accreditation and re-accreditation, with 109 yet to be sent to the National Accreditation Board. The Auditor General is further pointing out that we recommend, and these are excerpts of the reports, to management to cease running programs that are not accredited for having its accredited certificates expired until they are, of course, renewed, to avoid any form of sanction. There are more issues being pointed out, even issues relating to the payroll at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Also, there is another institution involved, which is the University of Ghana. In the case of University of Ghana, we do know that there are some issues relating to the fact that the Office of the Auditor General is pointing out that they noted that the university advertised 374 academic programs on the various web portals that had the accreditation or expired or requires re-accreditation during the period under review. However, it appears that that has not been done, and management would have to expedite action for the accreditation or re-accreditation of all of these programs being advertised by the University of Ghana, and then in this case the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Meanwhile, the Institute for Education Studies, IFES, is already wading into the matter, giving us a sense of how dire the implications could be for the education sector. Joining us now is Dr. Peter Anti, Executive Director for the Institute. Thank you so much, Doc, for your time. So let's start off with this issue of expired accreditation. It appears that's the problem here. You have quite some experience in all of these accreditation matters. Is this something that students and alumni should be really worried about, looking at what it is that the Auditor General is finding out? Kindly unmute for me, first of all, so we can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, precisely. So I was asking about the implications. Yes. I can hear you. Just go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. For us, we think that although this seems to be an issue, it's not something that we should be so much worried about, because it can be fixed. And sometimes when challenges come and they are very difficult to fix, that is where you tend to have issues with it. But for us, we think that these are not challenges that cannot be fixed. They can easily be fixed. And if you see the comment from the Auditor General, even for UG, we are just admonishing them to expedite action on the programs that need to be re-accredited. But I need to put this discussion into perspective. What we have to understand is that there are two stages of accreditation. We have the accreditation process that has got to do with the institution itself, and then the accreditation process that has got to do with the programs run by the institution. Then we have the third stage, which is the re-accreditation of programs that have been accredited already. So in the report, there is nowhere stated, it is not stated anywhere that these institutions do not have the accreditation to run the programs.
Yeah, but that was before. Sorry for cutting through. That was before. And now we have a situation where during a very long period, all of these programs were not submitted for re-accreditation. It has legal implications, right? The fact that all the programs run between that period would not be valid. What's your take on that?
Yes, so I was coming there. So the institutions are accredited. I mean, all the institutions are accredited. That is fact. The second point is that the programs, I think we will have to get a breakdown from the Auditor General, maybe the National Accreditation Board, for us to know which programs are supposed to be re-accredited and which programs needs accreditation. If a program is accredited and its accreditation is expired and have not been re-accredited, we know that it is a problem. But that problem can easily be cured by the NAB and then the institution expediting action on it and ensuring that the program is accredited. That is not the issue. The problem will be on programs that are being run by the universities that have not been accredited. And that is where the challenge is. So unless we get a breakdown of the programs that are being run without accreditation, it means that the documents for the program have not gone to NAB, and therefore NAB have not given their blessing for those programs to run. That is a serious issue, and that casts challenges on the certificate that will be issued. But if it's a program that has been accredited and needs to be re-accredited, that was not a serious issue, because the NAB and then the institution can expedite action, and then these programs can quickly be accredited.
We'll get to the issue about how to avert all of the crisis, but is it not surprising that you find the two topmost public universities, well, that could be arguable, but in fact the biggest by far, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and then the University of Ghana, engaged in such an act that was simply avoidable? If they're not leading by example, it appears that the entire tertiary level is in deep hot waters, I should say.
Yes, it's a little bit challenging, but if you talk to the administrators in the universities, they will tell you that getting the accreditation process through is something that is very cumbersome. And of course, if you talk to NAB should be able to also tell us that because in the document that we are referring to, there are almost about 190 programs that have been sent to NAB that have not been accredited. And we know, we pick information that NAB has serious challenges with their staffing issues and going by the processes that they have to undertake before they accredit programs. It is a little bit cumbersome, and they would need some level of staff to be able to do some of these things. So I'm not holding brief for anybody. I'm thinking that the institution they should know better and should have push for these things for these programs to be accredited.
Yeah, but that's a very critical point you're raising. We cannot be flippant about it. The regulator itself, the National Accreditation Board, you say that it has a skeletal staff system.
Yes, I was saying that before I even come to that. I was saying that if they send the document and the documents have not been accredited, you cannot blame the university. Okay, so that is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but the university is not supposed to continue to run the program once it does not have the clearance from the National Accreditation Board. So where do we place the priority at this moment?
So technically, these are programs that are already being run, have been accredited, and they need to be re-accredited. I think that we have to find a fine balance between not running the program and the delay in the accreditation of the program, because I think that it's going to have serious implication on what we are even targeting as a country to achieve. We want to improve on our tertiary enrollment ratio, and if programs have been accredited and they need to be re-accredited, and the documents have been sent to the requisite institution, do we stop running the program till the institution is able to accredit the program before we run these programs? Because we know that sometimes it takes years for these programs to be re-accredited, although the documents have been sent there. So we need to have a fine balance around this thing and know how we go about it. The problem, as I've said, is with courses or programs that have not been accredited at all and are being run by the institutions. That is very problematic.
Post-mortem, how do we avert the crisis now?
Yeah, I think NAB should talk. NAB should let us know what is really happening. GTech should talk. They should let us know what is really happening. I think that in terms of, they should also streamline the accreditation process, because if the accreditation process is so much cumbersome and takes a longer period for institutions to get the accreditation, it's going to have effect on our tertiary education progress, and it's also going to have an effect on even employment in the tertiary institutions, because you're now going to have academic staff that will be employed, but then there are no students that would be enrolled for them to handle them. So it's a very cumbersome issue. We should not look at it on the face value. I think NAB should talk. They should expedite action on some of these things, and the institutions also should take steps to avert some of these challenges. For me, in fact,
almost all the institutions that tight-lipped on this matter, including the regulator itself, it tells you how dire the situation is. But for those who are not appreciating what the implication could be, just give us that sense. 370 programs plus 61, okay, only 61 are being run in KNUST. So a little above 400 programs not being accredited. What's the impact likely to be in terms of the figures? Are we able to estimate that?
Yes, but then you should also still have to understand which of these programs are going for re-accreditation and which of these programs are going for new,
Are you then arguing that once it's a subject to re-accreditation, the programs could run regardless of what the regulator says?
think that so far as the program have been accredited and is just going for reaccreditation, the transition from being accredited after the 5 years should be managed in such a way that the universities can still run the programs. That is my candid opinion. But if it is a new program, then you don't start running the program till you have gotten accreditation. That is my candid opinion about this thing. If the program has been accredited and it's elapsed, the 5 years has elapsed, the period between the renewal of the accreditation and when it is finally done, that transition period, the universities could be given the opportunity or the leeway to run the programs. It is only when the programs have not been accredited at all and the universities are running it, that is where the problem is, because then the NAB has not given them the go-ahead. They have not assessed the potency of the program. They have not assessed the staff strength of the department that wants to run the program and all that, and therefore it becomes difficult for such an institution or such a program to run. I think that programs that have not been accredited at all, if you enroll on those programs, at the end of the day, your certificate is suspect, and unless of course the institution takes steps to accredit the program, and normally they might backdate it, your certificate might be rejected in case that you presented it in any institution or organization.
For some, this is a vote of no confidence in the two institutions. Admissions may be affected. Is it far-fetched to be bringing in some of these factors and conclusions?
If within the period, I think, you see, that my point is, I think that they should give them some grace period for them to go through the process. Of course, if they are not able to do that, then these programs are supposed to be dropped by the university. Then it means that those who are teaching the programs might be redundant. At the end of the day, it also means that you cannot get apply for these programs. That's why I'm saying that we should be a little bit careful about how we are looking at it. And I'm not surprised that the institutions are not talking, because the implication of being hard on the institutions and asking them to not run these programs are very, very, very serious.
Yeah, but it's as though you were asking them to be careless, go ahead, run the programs, and later on say, well, we apologize for it, just give us accreditation to run. Any other institution could do that. That's the potential danger here in terms of what it is that we're likely to face.
Hello?
Yes, I'm with you.
Sorry, I didn't get.
Yes, but I was talking about the fact that it's as though you're asking the universities to disregard the law and the requirements, and then later on come and apologize to the regulator.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm thinking that the regulator should also come out and tell us the challenges that they are going through, that has necessitated where where we have reached currently. I think that the universities know better. They know how to go around these things, and they should take steps to address these challenges. But the regulator also have a role to play. And that's why I said that I'm not surprised that they are all quiet, because the implications of this professionally on the running of the universities, on admission rates, on employment, on university campuses are very serious. And if we are not careful, we would land into a situation whereby we will not be able to get out of it at all.
By now, parents are anxious. In fact, some of the students who have gone through some of these curricula are beginning to be on the lookout for their programs and as to whether or not it's been certified by the National Accreditation Board. How do we give that assurance to parents and other stakeholders who may be worried about this?
Okay, so let me repeat it myself. The point is that if you are students that have undertaken a program, you should be anxious if your program have never been accredited before. That is problematic in my perspective. If the program has been accredited and it's expired and the university is going through the renewal process, I think that you don't have any cause to worry. But if the program has never been accredited, and that is why we would be interested to find out how many of these programs have been accredited and they are going for renewal, and how many of them are not accredited at all and are being run by the universities. That will give us a clear picture of how serious the problem is. But if it is for reaccreditation, in my perspective, it's not a problem at all.
What's the way forward from the perspective of IFEST on this?
Yeah, we think that there should be an urgent meeting by the accreditation board, GTech, and the universities. And then this process of accreditation should be streamlined. Then, if perchance you have gone through or you are privy to the processes that they go through, the university administrators will tell you it's very cumbersome. And I think it should be streamlined to make it easier for the universities to run their programs. Especially if the programs are already been accredited and they are coming for renewal, I think that the process should be smooth and streamlined for them to do that. If it's a new program, then we need to be need to go through the documents as critically as we can. But NAB should let us know which programs are accredited and which ones are not, so that we would find the universities would try as much as possible. They can give them a grace period so that they would find ways and means to present the documents and then seek for accreditation. Right. I think this can be done. Of course.
In fact, Peter, just stay with me, because there's a wider conversation that the president is bringing on board. The president has been speaking about tertiary education. He says that his administration is determined not to compromise the integrity and quality of education at the tertiary level. Well, he was speaking at a program organized at Jubilee House to present a presidential charter to the Methodist, Presbyterian and Catholic universities.
Following the creation of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission under the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020, Act 1023, it is no longer mandatory for new tertiary education institutions to go into affiliation arrangements with existing chartered institutions to be accredited. This means that the standard of proof would be much higher for new institutions coming on board, as they will have to demonstrate capacity to hit the ground running. I will thus urge the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to be even more vigilant in applying the new rules in order not to compromise the internationally acknowledged reputation of integrity and quality of Ghana's higher education system.
Well, so that's the president on this. Well, what's your take on his assurances? Yes. We're having some challenges hearing you, Peter, on the points you're making. You were commenting on the president's issue. Kindly unmute for me once more. Let's try and rectify that very quickly. Yes, we can hear you, but we appear to be having some challenges hearing you. You're not too audible. Well, it appears that we're having some challenges connecting to Dr. Peter Enti. But if you can hear me, let's try one more time. If you could just try and increase the volume of your microphone, I guess that's where the challenge is coming through from. But Dr. Peter Enti is the Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies. Let's try one more time and see if that will be better. Are you with us?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. So okay, you were speaking about the President's assurances.
Is it okay? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, so it's clear from the minister's perspective that they would want to increase the tertiary enrollment ratio from what we have in now. It was 18%. We are now 20%. They want to target 40% by 2030, and that is a target that we need to get to. And we don't just want to produce graduates. We want to produce graduates that would be able to fit into the job market and contribute to the economic growth of the country. And that boils down to the quality of tertiary institutions that we have. And of course, that is what the president is talking about. I see the president talking about coming on board of new tertiary institutions and the change in the law that says that now you do not have to affiliate to an institution before you are given accreditation to run, or you are given the power to run your own program. So now it's going to be a bigger challenge for new institutions to be accredited to run their programs at the tertiary level, because now you are not going to be affiliated to University of Cape Coast or University of Science and Technology or Eugene for some period before you now be given your charter to run and award your own certificate. And that point is where the president is talking about, that because we have removed the affiliation system, it is now going to be very important for GTech to be very, very careful and meticulous in granting authority to institutions that want to run tertiary education programs. So this has got to do more with the accreditation of the institutions. And then after they have been accredited, then we look at the programs that they are going to run. And I think that that distinction needs to be drawn from what we are talking about now, which is these institutions have the accreditation, but some of the programs that they are running might need to be re-accredited, or their new programs need to go through accreditation process.
Anyway, I guess we'll have to leave it here for now. That's Dr. Peter Anti. Thank you for your time here on The Pulse. It's time now to talk politics, because the former Finance Minister, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, has vowed he will continue to financially assist the National Democratic Congress and the grassroots level of the party. This declaration comes in the wake of the NDC General Secretary's Johnson Asiedu Nkitiah's criticism of his donation drive. Dr. Duffuor, under the Ahunto project, has been donating equipment to strengthen the party's base, and the General Secretary of the NDC has some problems with that. He's been questioning the motive of Dr. Duffuor over the weekend.
We just picked information from Kumasi that Dr. Duffuor is going to distribute some equipment to our constituencies under the Ahunto project. And we feel very betrayed, because, you see, it is not a bad thing if a former minister wants to support the party in any way. But there is a process that you go through. So we actually heard about this project for the first time when it was supposed to have been launched in Asham. So we felt that everything about the launching and the design of the project was problematic. So we invited Dr. Duffuor and his followers. And we sat down because we thought that we could resolve whatever was wrong with the project as it has been designed. So we all chart the same path and then make sure that we receive the donation and process the donation through our proper party channels of receiving donations. So we held series of meetings. And, you know, thought that we had agreed on the procedure. And our procedure is that if you want to donate to NDC, after donating, you don't have a hand in how the donation will be used. In fact, he's not the first person to donate to this party. In previous years, Professor Mills donated vehicles to the party, and they were processed through the party structures. President Mahama has donated vehicles and other equipment to the party. Once you hand over to the party takes over.
Well, there's some reaction to that, because Dr. Duffuor says he will not be deterred by the concerns raised by the party leadership. He will continue to assist the party, and on claims that the exercise could be pushed to launch his flag bearership bid. This is what Dr. Duffuor had to say.
No amount of insults, attacks will stop me from what I want to do for you. Nothing. Why did I give my salary to Ghana? 4 years, never took a peso. People insulted me at the time. They didn't insult me. My ex-gracia, I didn't take it. They insulted me.
Some friends.
Go to my village, my town, Kumawu. I have set a rural bank. I never took a certain allowance for 30 years. Go there and find out. I mean, we are different people, okay? I'm not doing all this because of anything. I feel in me that I should help people. And I'm helping. That's all. It didn't start this morning. Started years ago. One had never talked about anything. Building a foundation, as I'm saying, whether I build a flag bearer or not, is a priority for any party. And a priority for even the nation. They've talked about it. Yes, I've been donating so many things from 1994 or so.
Well, so that's the justification from Dr. Dufo. Well, Abazu Sabate is handling the Ahunto project, which is, of course, the basis for all of this controversy. We'll talk to him shortly. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies. He's also joining this conversation. But let me start off with you, Abbas, about this afternoon's reaction we're getting from Dr. Dufo. Is it the case that finally he's feeling the pressure from the rank and file of the party to at least explain the motives for which we're having the Ahunto project? You manage that project, so you know better.
No, that's not the case. Doctor is not under any pressure to respond to the ongoing situation with regards to the distribution of the Ahunto project. But what he did this morning was to reassure the grassroots of the party of his commitment to resource the base of the party. And as he said, that every political party survives on the benevolence and the hard work of the grassroots. So if you have a weak foundation, it is not possible for you to have a solid superstructure on top of it. So realistically, what he did was to reassure the grassroots of the NDC that he is not perturbed, that he is committed towards the implementation of the Ahunto project to strengthen the grassroots, to support the constituency executives towards the day-to-day running activities of the party at the grassroots level.
The question has always come up as to why you're not working in tandem with the national executives of the National Democratic Congress. Some say he's taking advantage of the exercise, knowing at least that we're getting a sense that he may be running for the presidential slot of the party.
I am the project manager for the Ahunto project. As you introduced me, I was not introduced as a campaign manager. So I cannot respond to speculation as to the future political ambition of Dr. Kwame Dufo. Realistically, to the main question as to whether why we are not working with the party. The first position was that we started the Ahunto project by launching it at Ashama. Afterwards, we felt obliged because the party then invited, and in fact, we obliged without any hesitation. We had a series of meetings trying to find the suitable means by which we can implement this novel and laudable project, as stated by the General Secretary of the party himself when the project was launched at the party headquarters. However, you cannot say you want to take over completely the vision of an individual when at the process of conceiving this vision, you are not present. We at our end, at the Ahunto NGO, including Dr. Dufo himself, compromised that yes, get your team, let's get the Ahunto project team, let's come together and implement the project. But what they are deciding is a complete takeover of the project.
Well, what do you consider the Ahunto project to be? A party exercise or purely an NGO exercise?
So, Dr. Kwame Dufo is a member of the National Democratic Congress. First of all, let's get that clarification. He's been supporting this party since 1994, and there's no doubt about that. The leadership of the party can confirm to this statement that I just made. Again, this is a special project targeted at the grassroots of the party, and he has an NGO to that effect. And the first project that the NGO is undertaking is to support the grassroots of the NDC. It is different from a donation. Let's get that distinction.
But if this is not the first time Dr. Dufo has done something similar, obviously the belief is he should know about the procedure and what the processes are within the NDC. Johnson Asiedu Nketia says, once you hand over the party or the project to party leadership, you would have to allow them to draw up the modalities for you. But that's not happening in this case. You are continuing to run the program. In fact, I recall days ago, you were in the Ashanti region running the Ahunto project. That's anti-party conduct, you agree?
So that is the confusion of this whole exercise. This is not a donation, and I have to clarify. And as I said, Dr. Dufo has been donating to this party, and he knows the processes. This is specific, a special project for that matter. And if I will take your viewers and your listeners back when we launched this project at the party headquarters. In fact, in the presence of the General Secretary of the NDC and the National Chairman of the NDC, Dr. Dufour invited me as the project manager, and he made categorical statement to the effect that the Ahunto project, Abbas Osabute, my good self, is leading the implementation of the project, and that I should ensure that the project gets to the nooks and crannies of all the 276 constituencies in this country, including SAR. He spoke before the General Secretary of the party did, and afterwards, the National Chairman also spoke. If they had any reservation as to the arrangement that the Ahunto project is being handled by a project manager and that the project manager is responsible for the distribution of the Ahunto items, they should have raised an objection on that forum. If they couldn't do it publicly, perhaps they could have done that privately. But unfortunately, that never happened. Let me tell you, my brother, on the 9th of August, the Ahunto Project Secretariat wrote officially to the party headquarters that based on our experiences after we have launched the program at the headquarters and national supervising the delivery of the project to Kolote constituency, they've not been able to implement the project as Dr. Dufour envisioned it since 23rd June. Why? Because there is rift between who is going to be a member of the management committee to facilitate the business model in order for the constituency to get the yielded dividend from it to manage the day-to-day activities of the party. Hence, we wrote officially to the party on the 9th of August, stating clearly that based on experiences in Kolote and in Ashama, we have decided not to give the equipment to the party executives directly. But we are going to have a separate committee that will manage the facility to the benefit of the constituency.
Right.
Realistically, it is not being given to the party executives per se, but we are identifying party members within the constituencies, giving it to them to manage, and giving the proceeds to the constituency for the
and I guess, Abbas, this is the point at which, of course, leadership is beginning to react. So let me bring in Dr. Asante at this moment, because, Doc, you have been watching all of these matters. Now the Ahunto project is in the crossfire now between the Dufour camp and managers of the Ahunto project, as well as the national leadership of the NDC. The belief is if this is not managed well, it may bring about some cracks within the opposition party. And not a good time for them to be doing this going into the 2024 elections, you agree?
Oh, that I agree. But, you know, we discussed this thing some time ago, and I said that for every political party, an individual can donate, they can support through whatever means. But whatever they do, they must use the party machinery, use the rules governing the game, if you like. But you cannot on your own arrogate some powers to yourself within that space and then want to do something on behalf of the party. So for every party, there are rules of the game. I think that that day, you recall, I said that Dr. Dufour should come clean and tell us his intentions. It is to help the party.
Interesting points you're raising there. You suspect he may want to run?
I can't think for him.
Right.
But if you want to run, there's nothing wrong with that. But that you make your intentions clear and then the party will know what to do. But if you want to also support, genuine support for the party to be able to be resourced, and then, you know, you galvanize support for the party, why not? But all that there is that the party need to know is that they should spell out the rules of the game and then see whether he has flouted any. If not, he can continue to do his good job. But that, I think that politically, it should be in the interest, it will be in the interest of Dr. Dufour and his team to listen to the party hierarchy and then manage this thing very well. Because if the intention one day is to lead a party, you depend on the party structures to rise to political fame. And that if you already antagonize them, it will be difficult for you to mend the differances. So
yeah, but here's a private individual. Here's a private individual who's a very well-respected person within the rank and file of the NDC. He says, I'm running this project, but I just want to set up committees looking at the business nature of this program to ensure that there's no malfeasance and that the project brings about the objective for which it's been rolled out. A reason for which is trying to detach this just a little bit from the party structures. For you, where should we blur the lines?
No, you know, the party is not the property of an individual. It's a group thing. So definitely you have good intentions. Why don't you sit down with the party and discuss them? Because after all, whatever you are doing is for the benefit of the party. So you have to involve them. It's a very simple matter. Once you're able to sit down and discuss, it shouldn't be a problem. But if there is a problem, then it creates all manner of suspicions. And then at the end of the day, it can undermine whatever good intentions that the people have. And I'm not sure that is what he wants and that is what the party also wants. So they should find an amicable solution to this and then move on. After all, every party is yearning for resources. So if you have somebody who wants to donate, you encourage him. But that the person also must know that there is a legal entity which is run by certain group of people that you cannot ignore.
Right. Doc, at least Dr. Dufour has not made his intentions known to us, but scientifically speaking, you understand the science of this. That's why I'm putting it to you. If we have a case where, of course, the program is run, it becomes successful, would that give leverage to the former finance minister to at least go all out in confidence to say, I want to be your flag bearer?
That is the homework of the party. They should be able to know this. If that is the case, they find a way of addressing it. Otherwise, definitely, when somebody has, that lead, it's going to inure to his benefit if the person decides to run one day. But at the moment, there is no evidence to that effect that he will run. But now he wants to donate to the party. That's fine. Let the party people sit down with him. And then they spell out the rules. And I'm sure he will work within the rules. But if he decide that he will go on his own, then I'm afraid he is not doing a party thing. Then it becomes an individual affair. And then, the people that you want to support will have whatever they want to tell you at the end of the day. So it is a sound advice that I'm giving to the party and then to Dr. Dufour, that if indeed they really want to support themselves, they need to sit down and talk. Because governance is nothing but dialogue, give and take.
I guess the issue about being fair and transparent comes up and stares the leadership of the NDC in the face, given the fact that it's the party's 2020 presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, has been going all out, engaging party faithful, and in fact speaking and making comments as though he's speaking on behalf of the entire leadership of the NDC. Has not been questioned on that. Dr. Dufour, of his standing and, in fact, giving his track record within the NDC, should be giving the same accord to go all out and do whatever he feels that he needs to do to support the party.
I'm not sure the party leadership have, seen any one of them crossing the line. Otherwise, why are they waiting? What are they waiting for? They should call them to order. I'm not sure that Mr. Mahama has crossed the line. If indeed he had done that, the party will quickly respond to that, and same can be said for Dr. Dufour. Now we are only conjecturing, but if the party believes that the two gentlemen have crossed the line, why are they waiting? What are they waiting for? They should call them to order, because you can never build any party without sound, legal rules that will govern the conduct of people. Otherwise, you go back to that state of nature, and there's nothing but chaos in the party. And I'm not sure that is what NDC wants.
Doc, I would want to round off with you on the issue of the reorganization process of the NDC. We'll come to that shortly, but let me bring in Abbas just before I wrap up with you on that. Abbas, so you've heard from Doc the potential effects on your party and party unity. Are you not mindful of this, preserving the peace of the NDC?
First of all, the suggestion that Doc should sit with the party to agree on a certain roadmap in itself shows clearly that there is a lot of misinformation in the system. It suggests that Doc has never met the party to discuss these issues. And that is wrong. I have said on this platform that there's been a series of meetings to engage the party leadership as to how to implement the Ahunto project smoothly. And I said, Doc with the party decided that let's come together with a team from the Ahunto project and the national leadership. But they are saying that we want to completely take over the implementation process from the one who envisaged this noble idea. Is Doc telling me that it's okay for Dr. Dufo to just say, take it, and let me just wash my hands of it? And I just want to also make one point. I am saying that this is not a donation. I have stated earlier. Doc,
yeah, but you are mindful of engaging the party. Since you're bringing that give us a sense of what transpired when you met Johnson Asiedu Nketia and, of course, the functional executive of the NDC. What were the key agreements? And how come you have not even been able to put this into writing? If indeed the Ahunto Project is an NGO, obviously there should be some ground rules before you set off with the project.
Realistically, we don't have any agreement. That is why nobody has been able to produce to you any agreement that they think we are flouted.
So in whose name, I'm sorry for cutting through, so in whose name are you running the Ahunto Project?
We are running the Ahunto Project for the grassroots of the NDC. That is what we are doing. And I said to you earlier, if I have not mentioned it, then let me mention it. The party itself instituted a policy of adopt a constituency and adopt a branch policy, which is to adopt those constituencies and resource them. In the 2020 election, a friend, well known in this country, Michael Tete, adopted 20 constituencies. I know, and you can cross-check from him and from the national leadership. He went around personally donating resources to these constituencies. I know because I was involved in the process. And I'm saying that there's a difference between donation and a specific project. A project that you have to monitor and evaluate the processes, maintenance culture, different management structure. So if it is about donation, Dr. Dufo knows what to do.
Right.
But this is a specific project. And let's get the difference. The party is suggesting a complete takeover of the project from the initiator. And Doc, is this realistic? Can't we merge together to implement this project for the benefit of the grassroots of the NDC so that the party will be strong at the base towards the 2024 election? I don't think this
interesting points you're raising there, Bas. Let me wrap up with you, Dr. Asante, on this. So the way forward from your end.
Yes, but I want to make something clear to my friend on the other side that I did not say that he has to give it to the party for the party to manage. I said they should sit down. And that governance is nothing but dialogue, give and take. That's what I said. So don't quote me wrongly. But the way forward, the way forward is that they have to sit down, take it or leave it. The way to go is to sit down, talk, and then because whatever they are doing, they want to build a solid base for NDC and it go to the benefit of everybody who is interested in the welfare of the NDC. So if one person wants to do, fine. But that one person cannot also do it alone. He has to do it in consonance with the party structures and leadership. So I think that is the way to go. Two, they should also spell out their rules clearly so that anybody who crosses the line, you are able to discipline that person. Otherwise, then you open the floodgate for all manner of chaos, which at this crucial moment, the NDC doesn't need that.
Anyway, I'm grateful, Doc, for your time. And also to you, Osabute, for joining us.
Thank you,
gentlemen. Well, you're still with us here on The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. We'll be back shortly. When we return, we'll talk about some happenings in Parliament. You need to know about this. Please. Welcome back to The Pulse. Obviously, this evening, there's a lot happening in Parliament. Local Government Minister Dan Bocho is challenging the position taken by Parliament's Government Assurances Committee that it will meet only ministers. The committee, which tracks promises made on the floor of the House, turned away Deputy Minister for Fisheries, Moses Enim, also refused to grant some hearings to the Deputy Local Government Minister, Obi Amwa. And according to of course, Dr. Dan Boche, the promises and assurances that are made on the floor by ministers are not their personal promises. And so, of course, deputies, in his view, could appear before the committee.
And the fact that we responded to your invitation and asked a deputy minister precisely Honorable Biamoa to be here since I was outside Accra on official duty. Only to hear later on radio that we did not honor the invitation and that we should come in person. I did not understand it to mean that assurances given or answers given on the floor of Parliament are personal. They may be given in person, that's my understanding, but certainly I do not believe they are personal because they are officially given. These answers are sought from official sources and they are officially given by the ministers of state. So I thought that an official, and for that matter, a deputy minister, could stand in to give those responses. But in my discussion with you, you said that that is what you insist should be done, that the ministers should come in person to come and talk about assurance. So I'm glad to be here, even though I think that assurances are not personal assurances. They are official assurances given on behalf of the work at the ministry. And therefore, I thought that an official, for that matter, a deputy minister, could stand in to assure us on the data. That's why we wrote that letter in.
Well, there's some backlash to that comment. The committee insists that they will not grant hearings to deputy ministers. So, of course, the committee has been explaining that. First of all, let me bring in my colleague, Kweku Asante, who's been monitoring the events and the fallout from the meetings of the Government's Assurances Committee in Parliament. Kweku, let me bring you in first of all before we begin to hear from some of the ministers involved and the justification coming through from the committee. So that's Dan Botchwey. For him, he believes that it's an official position, a position of the ministry, and so deputies should be allowed. But what's the convention in Parliament with regard to appearances before Government's Assurances Committee? And what's even the role of the committee in the first place?
Indeed. So let me start from the point about what the committee does. The Public Government Assurance Committee is the committee that tracks all the promises that individual ministers of state or deputy ministers will make on the floor and follow up to ensure whether or not these promises have been realized. Indeed, it is not clear what exactly the committee wants from these specific ministers because, as you heard Dan Botchwey there explain, these promises that were made on the floor, the assurances, were not made in their personal capacity as Mr. Dan Botchwey or as Madam Hawa Kumse. It was made on behalf of the ministry. And so even if Dan Botchwey is indisposed this morning, would that mean the committee would have to put their work on hold and wait until the minister appears? That was the explanation he was making. And indeed, if you look at the committees in Parliament, deputy ministers are allowed to represent ministries. Indeed, even on the floor of Parliament, when questions are asked of substantive ministers, deputy ministers can come in and offer an explanation and say, my minister is not available because of A, B, C, or D. And so, as deputy minister, I'm here to respond to these questions on behalf of the ministry. And that has been the legal position he has taken, and a number of senior majority MPs have also taken that we should not personalize the promises. And if you look at Madam Hawa Kumse, for instance, last week she was unavailable. This week as well, she has been unavailable. The explanation has been that she is not feeling well. And so her deputy is well equipped to respond to the issues. The committee says, no, we have to wait for the minister herself. And so the committee has concluded this first phase of public hearings without hearing from her. They have to wait until Parliament resumes, then they will start, and then we'll wait for our committee to come in.
But
so it's a grey area of law.
Yeah, in the first place, what are these promises? I guess we need to establish that.
So these promises are in their numbers. Whenever MPs ask ministers questions and they come to the floor, they make assurances that, oh, up until this day or that day, we'll fix this road, or primary school issue will do this. You know, last week, Education Minister had promised in 2021 that government was going to print the books for the new curriculum in 3 months. It appeared he had not done so, and so the members called him to provide a new update. When it comes to Madam Hawa Kumse, she had made specific promises relating to primary school distribution in the fishing communities, among other promises. She has to provide answers for that also. Today, Danbochi had to also respond to questions around motorcycles distribution to assemblymen, some district assemblies that they had to inaugurate new assemblies and all that, including Guan, the SAL issue and all that.
But then, what's instructive to note?
We've been hearing from John Otibles. We've been hearing from John Otibles, who says that despite all these explanation and everything, the committee's principle is to hear from ministers, and that if deputy ministers are sent their way, they will turn them away.
And to all Ghanaians, that per our workings and principles as a committee, the ministers are the heads of the ministry. And those promises were made by the ministers. So, and therefore, like I said, per our principles and workings as a committee, we only deal with ministers who are the heads of the various ministries. That is why we've asked that your deputy should communicate with you as his boss and a minister and the head of the ministry to appear in person. It is not about personal, it is about the head.
Okay, so we're getting some clarity to that. But what's also interesting is that some of the people who've been turned away are even members of parliament. Take a look at Obiama, for instance.
It's a name. He is the MP for Trobu. If you look at Obiama, he's the MP for Ukiapimno. These are members of parliament. Indeed, the day Honorable Moses Enyim was turned away, he came around, fraternized with colleagues, expecting that they were going to call him to come and respond to questions, only for the chairperson to announce that we were not going to hear from him and that they wanted the substantive minister herself. And so it's been a bit of a dicey issue for some members of the committee who think, oh, well, these are our colleagues in parliament, we must treat them with some respect.
So let's talk about today. Obviously, there's some good news for assembly members, motorbikes being procured for them. Any assurances or further promises from the minister?
Right. So Honorable Dangote had promised that all assemblymen in the whole country were going to receive one motorcycle each to enhance their work, to do monitoring among others. And so a few months down the line, he relayed to the committee that more than 1,000 of these motorcycles have been distributed to all 261 districts, and the motorcycles are ready for use by the assemblymen. Let's listen.
1,000 units of assembled motorbikes have been delivered to all the 261 districts across the country, in fact, including Guan district. The motorbikes were received by coordinating directors and heads of stores in all the MMDAs, and the chief director has the receipts, signed receipts by the stores and the coordinating directors. There was a supplementary question as to whether the honorable member, Madam Zuwara, the East Gonja municipality, that's her constituency, will get theirs. And certainly, because she was asking the question, he asked about her constituency too. And I can confirm that East Gonja municipality have also received 34 motorbikes due them. And that has also been duly signed, acknowledged by the stores.
Local Government Minister Dan Bochi there. So, Koku, where do we go from here, and what are we to expect in the coming days? Are they wrapping up by the end of the week?
Right. So the other minister they are expected to hear from is Madam Hawa Hussein. The committee explained today that the minister has been indisposed and unable to work before the committee now. And so the committee has now wrapped up its phase of its public hearings. They are expecting to present their report when Parliament resumes in October.
Kwekwa Asante, our parliamentary correspondent. Time now to take you elsewhere. In Germany, members of the government meeting to tackle the energy and economic crisis that has affected the entire Eurozone and beyond since the beginning of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, as the inflation rate reaches a 40-year high at around 9% in Germany. Politicians are trying to find how best to protect the population. For more on this, we've been joined now by DW correspondent Emmanuel Shays in Berlin. First of all, if it's been 40 years of a high rate of 8.8%, of course, that's what Germany is experiencing now. What are we expecting the impact of this inflation rate to be?
Well, everybody knew that this was coming, that an inflation was coming. Prices in the Eurozone are rising like never before since the founding of the European Monetary Union. The question was how bad it would hit Germany. There was some respite over the summer because of some short-term aid packages and measures to reduce the burden on consumers. But in every sector, prices have increased, and this impacts everyone, not just the energy sector, but also the food sector and, of course, the population. Because of Russia's war in Ukraine, groceries are getting more expensive as the entire import-export market is affected. And of course, energy, electricity, gas are getting more expensive as the West is trying to wean itself from its dependence to Russian fossil energy.
So let's explore the solutions then. How does Germany intend to tackle the economic crisis?
Well, Germans are worried about the current situation. You know, every family, every household is facing a very expensive heating bill that would be probably more expensive by the hundreds of euros. So many are already reducing their energy consumption where they can, but that's even before the cold season, if you will. So we can see consuming trends are changing. There's less big investments in, for example, cars, expensive electronics, but even for clothing, and most people tend to buy from discounters now.
And in fact, at this point, I'm interested in exploring what the reaction has been from Germans themselves.
Well, Germans are worried about the current situation. You know, every family, every household is facing a very expensive heating bill that would be probably more expensive by the hundreds of euros. So many are already reducing their energy consumption where they can, but that's even before the cold season, if you will. So we can see consuming trends are changing. There's less big investments in, for example, cars, expensive electronics, but even for clothing, and most people tend to buy from discounters now.
Anyway, I'm grateful. Emmanuel Shays with our partners, DW in Germany. Back home, traditional authorities in areas affected by irresponsible mining in the Ashanti region have expressed their displeasure over the assertions that they hold a major stake in stopping illegal mining. The chiefs say they cannot be blamed by politicians for the wanton destruction of land and pollution of water bodies when licenses and protection for miners are led by political leaders. This was after the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Duka, had emphasized on the role of the chiefs in ending galamsey at an illegal mining forum organized by the ministry in Kumasi. Erastus Sari was there, now reports.
The polluted nature of the River Ofin and other water bodies in the Ashanti region due to illegal mining has recently attracted public outcry. The forum, which attracted district and municipal chief executives and traditional leaders across the region, was to pool support in dealing with the menace at the local level.
We will not ban mining of gold in this country as a government. We will not ban it. But we are mining responsibly, that's all.
A submission by the Deputy Lands Minister, Duka, on the role of chiefs in ending galamsey did not go down well with the chiefs. All of us gathered here know those polluting our water bodies. We can't deny that. We know them. Every land in Ghana has a custodian. We know our land and water boundaries. If we decide now to ban mining on our water bodies, it will end. In reference, the chiefs blamed politicians for fueling the practice while indicating their helplessness in dealing with the miners.
Yanka, forest in your
Galamsey has gotten out of hand because of you politicians. Today, our cocoa farms, forests have been destroyed because of you politicians. Because the miners come with licenses from you and they are protected by military and police. Now all our sacred places in the forest have been destroyed. Those boys you assigned to follow the miners are the ones who take them to the forest. I ask, as you send the miners down to mine our lands, do you want us to starve? The Mentiahene of Bekwai, Nana Kusi Frimpong Kotobre, indicated the presence of military personnel still protecting miners in the Kobro section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve. In Amansia Central, Kobro Forest, soldiers are protecting miners there to mine as we speak. We chiefs cannot deploy soldiers to the forest. If I could, I would ask them to accompany me to the farm. Deputy Minister for Lands in charge of Forestry, Benito Wusubio, responded.
Forest reserves,
we will not allow anybody to mine in the forest reserve. As you notify us, the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission will prompt the District Forest Manager. If you show us the place within 24 hours, you will see what will happen.
Within 24 hours.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mrekuduka has hinted of new plans to police the country's water bodies against illegal mining.
We've commissioned out some boats that will be patrolling the river bodies 24/7. And we are doing that in conjunction with the Naval Command. We've also set up a situational room at the Minerals Commission who will serve as an anchor of whatever they do on the field. We're tracking all earth-moving machines. So if you even have a concession which is legal, and you have, for example, an excavator, and that excavator is tracked, and you move the excavator out of the confines of that concession, it will be deactivated unless you come to Minerals Commission or you call and explain the reasons why you got the machine out of the confines of that concession before it will be activated.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
And from the Ashanti region, let's take you to the Upper West. Wife of 68-year-old private security man missing for the past 9 days in the Wa municipality says she's having nightmares and sleepless nights over the incident. Jaratu Isifu, who is the mother of 6, said she has been unwell over the issue and looks up to God to bring her husband back to her. JoyNews' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam visited the family and the area and now reports.
Crestfallen, downhearted, hands crossed and in despair, family of 68-year-old Mason Yahya Alasan looks up to God for a miracle. He's been declared missing by the Wa police 9 days ago. Alasan works as a night security at the sawmill. The last time his wife, Jara Isifu, saw him was Monday, August 22, when they returned from the farm in the evening and headed to the sawmill located some 600 meters away from their home. The next morning, the mother of 6 prepared breakfast for the husband and he never showed up.
Manda tumubido bile nyuga aje takanya wala kibana mbawa ana lawnde diga aje alewa alaka otapaka no baba alaka. I
waited for him and he wasn't coming, so I sent his son to go and call him. He came back and told me he met the owner of the sawmill looking for him. The owner of the sawmill followed up here to check on him. It was there he asked his son to accompany him to his farm to search for him. And they went, but he was not there. They came back and later went and reported the matter to the Wa police.
adoda bi kabaga police station banda daga police station.
Since the incident, she has nightmares and sleepless nights.
Pila darja wana kumbangbiyo abole amon balon man ibile onkondu nyumba amayar man nama.
He being missing has made me sick. I can't even drink water, and I have sleepless nights.
The absence of the husband has created a big void in her life.
He's the one taking care of us. We are now looking up to God. 6 children, a wife, and other dependents, some of whom are unwell. This brother of his came because of the incident. Whether we see him or not, he will go back leaving me and the kids.
His senior brother, Abdullah Yaya, who is domiciled in the southern Gulf of the country, upon hearing the unfortunate incident, quickly came to the community to form part of the search party. We form search parties in the various communities, and we come from Pongu, Chaha, and Nakori, but we have not seen him. We are now in the dark, and we just don't know what to do again. He lamented with tears from his eyes. He is of the firm belief that he may have been captured by unknown assailants, but he is still alive. We are thinking that he is in the hands of somebody, and we are afraid. It is not only 68-year-old Alasan Yaya who's been declared missing by the police. 2 others for the past 2 months have also been declared missing. Whereas more, 4 private security personnel, including Mumni Jato, were gruesomely murdered for alleged ritual purposes, thereby heightening the fears of residents. While Mayor Alhaji Sakutair Mumin expressed concern over the deteriorating security situation in the municipality, he, however, was quick to add that the Municipal Security Council, MUSEC, is making frantic efforts to bring the situation under control.
What is happening currently is not palatable, and it has posed a very serious security challenge to the Municipal Security Council and all other concerned citizens of this municipality and beyond. So MUSEC is working around it, making frantic efforts and consulting serious stakeholders in this moment to find a solution to what is happening at the moment.
Alhaji Sakutair Mumin urged residents to take their personal security seriously by embracing government see something, say something mantra.
Any person that you see that is of suspicious character and who exhibits any strange behavior, and for one municipality we know ourselves and we know the nature of us. So if you see a stranger, you know, and all strangers in town come in for a purpose. So when you see a stranger without any meaningful purpose, I think it is good for you to alert security and then the authority of the Municipal Assembly.
Meanwhile, the Upper West Regional Police Command says they have started investigations to unravel the mystery surrounding missing persons in the municipality. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Okay. On now to our Drive Safe campaign, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority is strengthening its eye testing regime to enhance safety on the roads. Now, according to the authority, the present order where staff without the necessary qualification administer services has proven ineffective. And beginning September 2022, all services requiring eye tests for applicants will be done by certified optometrists. Nana Yaujima has been reporting and finding out more about that.
The new eye testing testing regime hinges on Regulation 29 of the Road Traffic Regulation 2012, which requires all prospective applicants for driver's license to use the services of only registered optometrists or ophthalmologists and the designated facilities. The DVLA believes basic eye tests conducted by the authority over the years have not fully revealed eye defects of drivers.
The current administration of the eye tests has certain limitations simply because it is done by the DVLA staff. And these are not people who have the right competencies, knowledge and skills for undertaking the test to the level that will show certain eye challenges if a driver should have it. And of course, the basic test also we have found out that does not give the full condition of a driver's eye.
Statistics from the National Road Safety Authority show 1,300 persons were killed in road accidents between January and June this year. Within the same period, 7,997 persons sustained various degrees of injury. Though the accidents are not linked directly with poor vision of drivers, the DVLA believes improving the standards of tests can improve conditions on the road. Kafui Semevo is Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing.
The essence of this is not to deny people driver's license, but it's to ensure that when you are licensed to be in the public space, you have met the minimum requirements and you are safe yourself. Your other road users are safe when you are around them. Those are some of the benefits. The other thing is that because we are receiving these reports electronically, it creates opportunity for the DVLA to now look at another service of renewing the driver's license online. We've not gotten there yet, but it's a very good opportunity this reform is bringing. So we are looking at it. When the time comes, we will let the public know what to do.
The reviewed process will ensure certified members of the Ghana Optometric Association perform the eye test on behalf of the DVLA. Result delivery in this system will be digitalized to deal with possible doctoring of the results. Meanwhile, the Ghana Optometrics Association explains some new tests will be added to the process. Dr. Remy Ningpe is president of the association.
Some of these tests include things like color testing to enable drivers be able to see well with colors, the traffic lights, the road signs and signages on the road, so that they are sure that they are seeing and are being seen well on the road. We are also going to test and make sure that drivers who probably would have had some conditions that will prevent them from seeing well in the future, identify them now and be able to solve them. Just a few people here, we can notice one or two people already wearing glasses. That enables them to see better. How many of our commercial drivers do you see wearing spectacles? Is it that they are all very good sighted?
A researcher at the University of Ghana, Dr. Jerry Jo Harrison, has developed a recipe that will be a major contributor to the fight against the HIV epidemic. The research that bears the findings looked at the molecular structure of the HIV polyprotein, a key protein that helps the HIV virus to multiply and propagate. With the molecular structure of the important protein unraveled, Dr. Harrison says the treatment of HIV has been giving a major boost. He's been speaking to my colleague, Ernest Meno.
I mean, that's actually disheartening to know that such large numbers of people are getting infected by the disease. I think that there is some kind of complicity. I think over the years, people have become immune to the idea that HIV still exists. And so, despite all the campaign and everything, we are beginning to lose ground, like you rightly mentioned. And so, there's a wake-up call to all of us that HIV is still around, and that we should take every precaution to prevent further transmission of the disease.
But what do you say about those who attribute, this partly to COVID-19 and its effect on public health, for instance?
Well, I mean, one could certainly not attribute this to COVID. Well, maybe the way COVID struck us unexpectedly and the mortality rates that were observed somewhere elsewhere created the impression that, well, we could be consumed all of a sudden, and some way, somehow, we managed to survive. And that, gives people some wrong impression that they could be reckless with certain things. But I think that there's a real threat that we have to take very seriously, and we have to go back to the drawing board and start getting innovative ways, especially in this age of social media, to get people, to appreciate the fact that HIV, is still there. Yes, there are some treatments that are available, but they come at a cost, and side effects are things that we always talk about. So people should do their best to not get infected in the first place.
And I know you're a researcher, but in your interactions and your engagement with the population, with policymakers, do you find that this is a thing, the nonchalant, is it a thing with the young generation, or it's simply, a thing with the entire population?
I think that it's a general feeling. I don't think it's generational. When I interact with people and you tell them you are HIV, researcher, the first question they ask you is AIDS still there? And so I think that the problem is not a generational one, that we've all become sort of nonchalant about the disease because of the fact that it is not as deadly as it used to be. And so the fear of contracting the disease is no longer as at its peak as it used to be. And I think that's part of the problem that we're having now.
We'll talk about what you think the Ghana AIDS Commission should be doing to address this, but that brings me to your work, the research work that you have done. When I saw the headline, that there's a groundbreaking research on AIDS.
And of course, you can catch the full interview on all of our social media platforms and also online at myjoyonline.com. For now, the Ministry of Finance has asked JoyNews to redirect its request for information on the amount of money the ministry has released for the construction of the National Cathedral and related matters to the Office of the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President. The controversy surrounding the financing of the project heightened following the announcement by the Finance Minister of the release of some 25 million cedis to the project consultants in May 2022. This week, officials of the cathedral confirmed work has stalled due to lack of funds. Dr. Opoku Mensah is the executive director for the cathedral project.
We have finished the foundational work, all of them. We've suspended it a bit to ensure that we have adequate resources. But the worst part is to have people on site and pay them whilst work is not going on. So what we did was just to say, but we have the contractors and their staff on site, but the workers we've suspended. We are hoping that within the next couple of weeks, as part of our fundraising and other initiatives, we can begin work again. But essentially, our ability to complete this work really is dependent on Ghanaians supporting us. And really, we are saying that, look, the money might be big in terms of volume, but if indeed we are 21 million Christians, and really 1 million can give us 100 cedis a month.
Okay, let's get some more on this. Joseph Akable is our court correspondent. Joseph, first of all, what's the background to this request?
We all know that from the time of James Kwabena Bomfe versus the Attorney General, the case that challenged the construction and the state's involvement, the government through the AG did indicate that seed money was supposed to be provided. What we've not gotten firm clarity on is how much would that seed money be in total, and we know of that 25 million cedis. The only time that information came out was when that leak letter went viral from the Finance Ministry directing the releases, and also just after that letter had gone viral, that also we had the Cathedral Secretariat itself coming out to give some explanation. And so as part of our efforts towards accountability, we take advantage of the right to information law as and when. And so we felt that this is a matter that we can formally request to understand in total, since construction took off, how much money the Finance Ministry has released for the project.
But now we know that the Finance Ministry recently released some funds to the Secretariat for Construction. Why then are they redirecting this request to the Office of the President?
In fact, the only sense we get from what that reason could be is the fact that they say that that project is being supervised from the Office of the President. And so they're asking that we request information from that end, which they are allowed to do under the law. And so that request is what we've also we've prepared and we've undertaken that particular endeavor as well by way of getting that particular information from the Office of the President this time around, hoping that we are going to get that information.
And for those who may not have clarity on what the law says, is this kind of redirection from the Finance Ministry that we're getting normal or usual?
And so under the law, once a request goes to an agency, I mean, the information officer can make a determination that this is information that if they don't have the information, they can direct you as to where you should request the information, or they can actually forward your request directly to that information. But in this particular instance, they took the other legal option of informing us of where they think the information is available, and we should send the request over to them. So it's quite normal within the law. It's one of the arrangements that the law provides for. And
still on the law, how many days do we have in terms of expecting some response, at least from the Office of the Chief of Staff? Under the RTI law, once the request goes to the information officer and within 14 days, you do not get a decision from the information officer, you can send another request to the head of that entity. So in this particular instance, it will go to the Chief of Staff. So the first one has gone to the information officer, the Chief of Staff's office. If you don't get a response within 14 days, then it goes back to the Chief of Staff. And if that's one also, you still get a decision that you disagree with, then you can go over to the Right to Information Commission to seek their intervention on that. And so we have within 14 days to see what happens. Right. It appears that in some corners our motives and intentions are being questioned. But tell us, what problem will it solve if indeed we have clarity from the authorities as to the list and raft of demands that we're making through the RTI? I mean, it's taxpayers' money, and this is a project that we've been told from the onset that it's supposed to be one that was undertaken from the Christian community with assistance from government. Government was supposed to provide seed money and a bit of land. There's a lot of misinformation in the public domain. There are lots of concerns. This is purely an exercise that will put the matter to rest for all of us to know that at this particular stage of the construction that we are at, this is how much money that the state has committed to it and how much more the state intends to commit if that information is available and be given to us. It serves as a rallying point of sorts, and it serves as a departure from the approach of having documents leak before answers are provided on specific matters, especially because it borders on public funds, which is simply all of us, our contributions by way of taxes. Okay, then, in the next 21 days, right? Next 21 days. That's when we're expecting. Within 14 days first. 14. And after 14 days, if we have to go back again, we'll still be counting in that regard. But it's one that we can assure our viewers that we'll be following through to get the answers that we are supposed to get. Surely. We'll definitely do that. Joseph Akabli, our court correspondent there, giving us some updates on the RTI that we're request that we're making to the Office of the Chief of Staff. But for now, let's